clashes between Israeli troops.
Violence between Israelis and Palestinians hasn't been this bad for many years, with the UN warning
the impression given by the mainstream media, both print and electronic, is that this whole thing started because of rocket attacks by Hamas and Islamic Jihad and so on, that they are the ones who are responsible. If they hadn't done these things, Israel would not have had to respond, you know. The most important of these would be what was happening in Sheikh Jarrah. Sheikh Jarrah is about 5 kilometers from the center of East Jerusalem. And Sheikh Jarrah is a place which the Israelis, the Zionists, they would like to see it as theirs, and they've been trying to evict the residents, and these are not just residents from yesterday or the day before. They've been there for generations. And the residents, the regional indigenous Palestinians, have been resisting this. So this has been going on, a sort of a tussle. There's been some demolitions and, you know, things of that sort. And this is one of the contributory factors that created this scenario. Yet another factor would be the attempt to regulate, if you like, the Salat sessions at the Masjid al-Aqsa. And since these sessions had become more prominent during Ramadan, the Muslims started to react to what the Israeli authorities were trying to do. Then there was a series of Ramadan-related activities at the Damascus gate that had also contributed to the situation. And this is something which the Palestinians, Muslims have been doing for ages, you know, where during Ramadan, you know, they have some, you know, sort of way of celebrating each day and all the rest of it. And the authorities, the Israeli authorities, have again tried to impede what they were doing. And then, of course, there are people who say that maybe none of these things would have happened the way it did if it had not been for the attempts by the Israeli authorities to demolish high-rise buildings. And this means a few hundred people who have been rendered homeless. Yeah? Now, all these things contributed to a situation where they really felt that they were being hemmed in, the Palestinians, that they were being pushed against the wall. And when it became very clear that the demolitions were going to take place, the demolitions of the high-rise buildings in particular, they reacted. Of course, it's true, they launched some rockets. Some people say these were crude, man-made rockets. Others say that they were more sophisticated, but they reacted by launching a few rockets at a couple of Israeli cities. Now, this context has not been told to the world. They just say, well, rocket attack. And in other words, the Israelis are innocent. It's the Hamas people, the Palestinians, who started this whole thing. That, I think, is the sort of lie that should be exposed. It's not the first time they've done this. In 2014, they did the same thing. In 2012, they did the same thing. In 2008, they did the same thing. They sort of weave these lies. And one should not be surprised, because we know that the whole of Israel and this whole Zionist adventure is the product of a lie. And what is that lie? And this, I think, is so critical. People should know this. Everyone who is concerned about what is happening, all human beings should know this, that the fundamental lie is that the Zionists from Europe were coming to a land without a people. So a land without a people to receive a people without a land. This is the amazing lie that they have concocted for such a long while. And you know that Israeli prime ministers have repeated this, like Golda Meir, that this is a land without a people now. What sort of rubbish is this? We know, for instance, that in terms of established recorded history, from 638, when Sayyidina Umar ibn Khattab took over Jerusalem, right up to 1948, with that short period when Jerusalem was under Christian rule from 1099 to 1187. It was a very short period. The rest of it was under Muslim rule. So what are you talking about when you say that this was a land without a people? I mean, there's a whole history behind this, right? And even before that, we know Philistines and the history of the various groups and all the rest of it. This is something that they have tried so hard to extinguish, the Israelis.